Welcome to another episode of Mr. Badger Talks to Utter Scum. I'm here with a very, very close friend of mine, the lovely Mr. Toby Carvery. How are you, Toby?
Oh, it's Timmy Tango, mate. Timmy Tango, not Toby Carvery, yeah.
Do you make tango?
No. It's just a nickname that's been crept in over the years.
Is that because you've got orange balls or something?
Well, no, not really. I happened to have a camper van dango at the time, and it was named as a rhyming thing from that.
So Timmy Tango's
camper van. Like Timmy Tango's camper van dango was a fairly robust party machine in its day.
You've got a homosexual van.
Well, only if you ask really nicely.
Well, I think you are a friend of not just the podcast. You're a friend of Mr. Badger's, because I remember doing a festival for you back in the day. That was.
I think Terry. I think that was the last time we saw each other. Actually, was very drunk in a Welsh barn somewhere.
I think it was. Yeah, I'm not sure if Mr. Badger would be welcome back in that establishment.
Oh no, I think you'd be very welcome back. I think everyone had a whale of a time.
I was going to say merriment was had. I remember getting a massage from a man to Meshuggah, a very heavy death metal band. That was lovely.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, he would massage you to the music of your choice, which is a very sort of transcendental moment, I'm sure.
Well, you've used a big word there. What was it, Transylvania?
What moment?
Well, no, but it reminds me of what we're going to be talking about today, which is, if I'm not mistaken on this, you're going to be talking about cyber security. Is that not right?
Cider security, yeah, with as many apples as we can possibly squeeze in, but not the Apple Mac variety.
Oh, I thought you were going to be teaching me about how to get around all these firewalls that the police have put on my PC.
I think it's too late for that, mate. I think the onions well and truly left the building.
Oh, bollocks! Well, I don't know if there's any point doing this then. Fuck it. You're not a close friend or anything. Well, what are you going to be able to teach me about? What was it? Cider?
Cider, yeah. It's one of those drinks sort of they likes to drink down the park.
Cider.
With the temazepam, you know.
With your nan?
Well, it's the nan that usually gives them the temazepam, I think.
So your nan's on temazepam drinking cider in the park. This sounds like a song from, I don't know, some shit northern indie band, doesn't it? Nan's in the park with temazepam.
It's a long old school reference to Twin Town, but perhaps fell a bit short.
Twin Town starred that Rhys Ifans, didn't it?
Rhys Ifans before his Notting Hill pants days, yeah.
Yeah, and I take it you heard about it. He used to be a spokesperson for the NSPCC. Did you know that?
Oh, right. No, I didn't know that. No,
there's a genuine true story about Rhys Ifans where he lost, he was a Patreon, and he lost his patronage because live at an event for abused children, he was absolutely pissed. And they basically got him to the microphone and said, like, come on, just say something to the crowd. And he said, I've got one for you. Why are there so many paedophiles? And the crowd was just quiet. And he said, because of all the sexy kids. And apparently it didn't go down well. And he was sort of dragged off going, oh, come on, that's funny. But
well, yeah, it worked to the crowd, didn't it? I guess you know all about that.
Pick your battles, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, play to the right crowd. But I'm open with the right crowd. So you're a raging alcoholic then?
Well, I think, yeah, basically the cider sales are only there because you can't possibly drink it all. No, basically it's evolved over the years. We've been making cider privately since maybe way back in 2014, 15, something like that. And basically it comes from taking apples that would otherwise go to waste each year. Exactly. Wow, maybe that one's come from a shop. I don't know. Is that off a tree in your garden, or has that been bought?
It
looks nice and waxy. Ah, there we go. You see, bit like your jumper.
Yeah, it doesn't taste very nice. But I think it can double up as a candle, so that's lovely.
Yeah, well, it would do. So I mean, long story short, we've honed our skills of making cider that's actually quite palatable. There's a reputation for it to take the lining off the inside of your mouth and be a bit of gut rot stuff, but actually with a little bit of nuance and subtlety, you can make some ciders that are more like wines than they are sort of paint stripper. And
I did do a bit of reading previously, and apparently, like wine making and cider making is very, very similar. It's like wine has sort of become the connoisseur's drink, hasn't it, for like the elite, whereas cider was seen as the drink for the scum. It's like, oh god, but again, it's pretty much the same.
The poor man's drink.
Yeah.
Well, it's an identical process in so much as you take a fruit, you press it to get the juice, and then you ferment that juice. With wine, obviously you can ferment it out to a higher alcohol generally, so that's up to the 12-13%.
There's no juice coming out of it.
No, you can keep squeezing.
If I do it off camera, is that going to be off-putting?
If there's any trumpy noises, it might not necessarily be you.
Yeah, don't worry about trumping noises. It's other noises you have to worry about.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people pushing for cider to be thought of in more like wine terms than beer, because obviously beer's made to a recipe, and there's an awful lot of energy that goes on into brewing it and making it.
Well, with
cider.
With beer, you've got like you like Bishop's Cock and all that sort of shit. What they've got now, like ales, haven't you? They've tried to make it artisan, where really in the old days it'd be what your granddad drank in the pub. Is there a movement like that in cider at all, or is it still just
we feel like we're very much pushing forward with the craft cider movement. So like within cider, you get there's a big confusion as to what it actually means, because some people think of it as in your 3-litre bottle of white shitening, but
that's it.
Joking at the beginning. It's real rocket fuel type stuff, whereas at the other extreme you get champagne style ciders that are £20 a bottle, because they're kept over 2 years and turned every so often, and all the sediment is extracted out of it in the same way that champagne was made. In fact, boring fact, the French actually learned the champagne method from English cider makers back hundreds of years ago. And the champagne wine was a very mediocre white wine they couldn't flog, and they were like scratching their heads as to what to do with it. And some of their chappies came over here and tasted some of our sparkling ciders, and they were like, wow. And basically it was the advent of glass, the glass bottles that were strong enough to hold the pressure, which we also made in the foundries over here. So yeah.
A cider is an apple, isn't it? But I'm sure to understand you get sparkling perry as well. Is that pears or something?
Oh, it is pears, and very specific pears they are too. You have to be within a very certain visual sight line of a hill in Gloucestershire, I think it is.
You've got to have a lovely pear. Is that what it is?
A pair of pears.
You've got to have a lovely pair of pears. Just dangling.
Interestingly, you do need 2 pear trees to fertilise the blossom. Oh. So having one standalone pear tree is no good. You do need a couple just to get that going. But yeah, perry's interesting. I thought I would bring that up talking to you, because about the perry fairy, which is
I'm not a fairy.
No, wow.
I'm a real man.
You might be after a few perries. No, the perry fairy refers to the fairly uncontrollable necessity to frequent the lavatory after an indefinite amount of drinking perry. Basically, it's both a diuretic and what's called a laxative if you drink it in certain volumes. But then it differs to your constitution. So some people can have 2 sips and they're like off to the loo. Other people have 3 or 4 pints of it and then they're off to the loo. But at some point, the perry fairy will visit you. And if you're not aware of this fact, it can be quite enlightening.
That's interesting. So perry makes you sort of evacuate your bowels, so to speak. Whereas cider brings it up through your mouth in various colours.
Well, no, it depends on how much you drink, I suppose. It can be enjoyed like any reasonable person without.
At your festival, I'm sure I drank a lot of it, and I was very, very dizzy. I think you made more than just cider at that festival. There was lots of drinks that
I
you'd made
think,
there.
yeah, there might have been some plum wine or some other such concoctions, elderflower, champagnes, and all sorts. We were testing away at that point, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so I take now. So your company, what is it? Mashman? No.
Masham, but pronounced Masham because it's weird in Yorkshire. Imagine it's got two S's rather than an SH in it,
So
and
it's
it's Masham cider press.
so it's Masham, but spelt
Yeah,
Masham.
correct. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
like
mash them in
mash them
Masham.
cider, mash them apples up to make cider like that.
That's it. We mash them in Masham. Yeah, that's the.
Mash them in Masham. And that's so. With now that you just do cider, you don't touch any your other toxic
We have
beverages
dabbled
that
with
make me
Perry.
quite
We have dabbled
dizzy.
with. No, we don't do the hedgerow wines so much anymore because of the scale of it. Basically, there's plenty of apples about. It's hard to get hold of a reasonable number of Perry pears. There's loads of dessert pears, but they go to mush so quick, and they ripen at different times, and it's hard to get hold of a decent volume to press them at the same time. Whereas apples, you can steadily be pressing. I mean, there's apples ready now at certain places, Discovery apples and things, and we can press right through now till November.
Is it certain types of apples then, or can you only go for select ones?
Well, certain cider makers are very selective and can get what they call single variety ones. We've not gone down that route yet because we find that like a real happy balance of different apples gives a real overriding flavour from those different apples. So like a nice mixture of cookers and eaters, and we've got access to a good reasonable number of cider apples now. Adds to an overall better quality juice and cider.
What about tart ones like crab apples and that?
Oh yeah, they go in. We have been known to. We have been known to screech to a halt on a carriageway and park the car up and rustle a hedge for apples.
That's the beautiful thing about it, isn't it? It's like it's not really costing. Like from what again, I'm not an expert. From what I understand, literally all you need is apples, something to crush them with, and time.
You're spot on, and a lot of people faff on with it, working out what sort of yeast they want and what sort of temperature they want to keep all these things in. And what we've found just through trial and error, really, over the years that we've been doing it. But if you can, like exactly as you say, get good quality apples to start with. You don't want rotten ones, mouse-ridden ones that have been rolling around in dog mud. All that stuff. Get rid of that. Get the nice clean apples. Wash them anyway, go through the mill, pulp them up, juice them, let that juice ferment. We leave it for a minimum of 6 months without even touching it, making sure the airlock's on there so that the air can't get in, turn it all into vinegar. And basically time and let nature take its course. And a bit like wine again, you're wholly reliant on how that year has been for sunshine and rain, and the quality of the apples and the quality of the juice has a direct impact on the quality of the cider. So it really is like you're in tune with nature from the moment the blossom starts in the springtime. You're monitoring that and how much insect activity there is, whether there's any late frosts, all this sort of thing, and you're really kind of, like I say, in tune with nature throughout the year, and seeing those apples plump up, how much rain we've had, how much sunshine, and you are totally beholden to what the weather and nature throws at us, really.
So if you do have like a slow year where there's been a bit of a struggle getting some apples, do you get them ones that are in dog shit and clean them off and just have a go on them?
Just lick it off, mate.
That's it. Well, we said a little bit of tart. I'm sure the dog's eating something, maybe some spicy curry or something.
There's some fairly horrendous myths that possibly there's an element of truth in for what cider makers would stick into cider, especially once it's well underway. Sometimes the yeast itself runs out of nutrients a bit, and the cider can sort of lose the liveliness, go a bit astringent. And there are rumours that cider makers would drop a dead rat in there or a sheep's leg or something like that to give it a bit more. But
so with
not,
yours,
not in our premises.
Like I say, so your Masham cider or Masham at Masham's, your Masham cider. So is this like made on a grand scale, or is it like very much a home sort of like anybody could do it if they got the right equipment?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, really, because we started off with literally like a bucket like your standard bucket size, which would take what 10 kilos of apples, and a drill with a blade in the end, buzzing that up to make pulp, and then pressing the pulp in a basket that's not much bigger than what I can show you there. And we were proud to get like 100 litres out, and that was in our first year of doing it properly.
You'd make it 100 litres just out of a bucket?
Well, no, within a few pressings, like all of the apples we got. You know,
how big are your fucking buckets?
well, now it has reached that scale where we are. We went from doing that. We went to 1,100 litres a couple of years after that, and then we're pinging up to our 7,000 litre limit regularly now.
So I take it all this as well. You've got to have it like health and safety, haven't you? Brussels.
Yeah. The environmental health been round and assessed the processing and making sure that everything ticks all the boxes, even to the point that we've got a license with the local council to be livestock feed merchants, so that any of the pulp that once that's finished being pressed, that all goes off to feed either pigs or cows or sheep, even will have it. So it's a very circular economy in so much as there's very little detrimental environmental impact. It's all locally sourced. It's food waste that would otherwise just rot into the ground, but people just don't make use of it.
I know that's a lie, because you said you're in Yorkshire, and I know they'll eat any old shit. You'd just put it in a trough, wouldn't you, and let the locals have it?
Mate, they have applesauce with every roast dinner. Ain't just pork.
Yeah,
literally.
What a food! Applesauce is bloody gorgeous as well. So
it's delightful, yeah. But when I first started coming to Yorkshire, and they were sticking applesauce on roast beef dinners, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah. No, I used to have it with me Christmas dinner. Like cranberry sauce can be a little bit sharp for me, so applesauce with a Christmas dinner is fucking lovely.
It is, yeah. I don't know. I've got a thing for crackling with it. I think it's got to be a pork dinner, really, for me.
Oh yes, I take it though. With your cider, has that taken over your life now? Like we said, applesauce goes with everything. Are you like a connoisseur now, and you can put a cider with every meal?
Well, there is that sort of potential nature for it all, getting all a bit hoity-toity and a bit highfalutin.
Which is good though. Oh God,
yeah. We have done cheese and cider tasting evenings.
Oh,
so
lovely.
that's a thing. So pairing our cider with food groups and all the rest of it, yeah. So
I thought you paired a Perry.
Well, yeah, not too many though.
No, or else you pair a Perry and do a poo.
The Perry Fairy will drop in and drop trout.
Yeah, you'll drop guts. That's the fucking problem, isn't it? So no, but with that though, when you say like, we mentioned it before that now you've gone down the craft route, and you're trying to not make it elitist, but you're trying to raise the
standard.
Yeah, well, the idea of cider, because it did used to be sort of the dirty old man's drink who couldn't afford like a proper pint. Well, with the rise of things like fucking Strongbow and all that sort of shit, it gave it a bad...
You go back far enough, and cider was the working man's drink. It was the labourers on the farm. Every farm would have an orchard of 10 or 12 trees or more, and half the wages would be paid in money, and half the wages would be paid in cider. Yeah. So they'd be taking flagons of cider down to the fields with them to get half pissed all day just to cope with the work they were having to do.
Faggots and cider.
Yeah, something like.
Was that in Wales? Was it?
No, that was all over. That was all over, countrywide.
Oh, them sort. Okay, right.
Yeah. But yeah, we're definitely doing our bit to up the standard. The craft beer movement from 15, 20 years ago is absolutely still going bonkers. The craft cider movement is hopefully not far behind it. And actually, in these times when energy bills and all of the rest of it is just going scary high, you look at the energy costs of actually making things like beer and spirits and all the heat, the electric, all the things that go into making it, and actually the simplicity of making cider and making it good quality with minimal intervention. Actually, I think it's got a better sort of longevity potential.
I still remember I remember back in the 80s and 90s where like people did their home brew beer kits. And they'd have like a big plastic barrel, and they'd put like some, I don't know, Colonel Sanders' fucking secret blend of herbs and spices in, and 6 weeks later, you've got this barrel of toxic shit that you've been trying to force your mates to drink. But,
come on, try it, because I can't possibly drink it all.
It's like, I've already cracked my pants 3 times today. Please, you drink some. But it does seem like cider. Well, I never saw anybody making cider in that fashion, but it seems so simple to make.
Well, it is, and we do encourage people to do it, because not that long ago we were doing it on that scale. But like literally within 2 or 3 years, we'd outgrown my mate's shed. His missus has got pissed off with us taking over the spot every time that we needed to bottle something or to press it in the autumn. It literally took over the whole outside of his house. Thankfully, we were undercover, and then his minimal little shed that we had was, only fit for purpose for 12 months before we'd outgrown it again. So yeah, when you start looking around for things like apples and things that would, people are genuinely keen to get them used. They, it ticks so many boxes. You're out there, like I say, making use of stuff that would otherwise go to waste. And yeah, we've now moved to a unit where we've got 1,600 cider apple trees. They're not ours, but we rent the space, and we can make use of that and grow into something that's hopefully going to be a sustainable business for the future.
I must say the one thing as well. As I say, at your festival that you booked me for, I remember I was very, very, very drunk, but I had zero hangover. Is there something like a difference between natural made cider and the chemical shit that you buy from a pub? What is the difference?
You're very astute there, Terry, because basically we don't put any chemicals in it, not even sulfites, which some cider makers do just for certain reasons. But yeah, it's the sulfites and the added sugars, basically. A nice dry cider shouldn't have any residual sugars left in it, really, minimal amount, and therefore it ticks so many boxes as far as low calories. It's a vegan product. Celiacs can have it because it's gluten free.
No, celiacs. If I'm not mistaken, celiacs are people that have murdered less than 7 people.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes. So even if you're not a celiac like me, you'd still be all right to drink it.
You could. Yeah. We've had so many people come up to us. Well, so many numbers that I can remember the evenings when they come over and they're so enjoying drinking because they say it's a clean drink, it's a crisp drink, it's fresh, and the ones that are allergic to things like gluten or sulfites, because sulfites are in even organic wines and so-called gluten-free products. They often stick sulfites in them to preserve it. And because we don't add sulfites, when people are able to drink it and enjoy it, and like you say, not have a horrendous hangover, despite perhaps drinking a bit too much on the on the occasion itself. I mean, that for me, it justifies the natural nature of it. It's only through drinking these horrendous chemical concoctions of so-called drinks. Generally, well, I've got a personal hatred for the amount of sugar that we're all consuming on a daily basis. And
I was just about to have an apple pie, so that's
it's not plastic then.
No, that's a real apple pie. I didn't get a plastic one for the show. But no, you are right, because our diets in general are very, very. We're going down the American route, aren't we? We're just salt and sugar in fucking everything. We're putting salt and sugar in stuff that already has salt and sugar in it to preserve the fucking stuff.
Yeah, and they make these products, and then we sort of expect that to be the case. And then when people try a dry cider, and they wake their taste buds up again to a fully flavoured drink that's not saccharine and sweet and horrendous, they go, "Oh, you can taste the apples." It's like, oh yeah, that's
guess what we put in it, you thick fucker.
Yeah, that's all that's in there. So actually, it is a real joy to introduce people to something that's so alternative to the mainstream production. Basically, mainstream cider can get away with only putting 35% apple juice in it.
Bloody hell! Well, what's the rest of it?
Well, exactly. Everyone should be asking that. So basically, that's where your recorderlings and your cherry this and your strawberry that, and they're basically syrup-based drinks. and they get a base alcohol. They know exactly what percentage they're aiming for. It's generally a piss water 4% type stuff. They'll just chuck a flavoured syrup in it and chuck it out, and people are lapping it up.
You're basically having like a cider cocktail, but you don't know it.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. And even the ones that you think are pretty good, like Thatcher's have got like a pump now that has got like, it's one barrel of the same cider, comes up one standpipe to 4 taps or more, and they're all the different ones, like the blood orange and the apple and the dark fruits and whatever. And basically, it's like your Coca-Cola stands at McDonald's.
Ah.
They just, as you're pouring it, they squirt in a syrup that flavors it to whatever you want. And it's
lovely.
But
here's what I don't understand then. So I'd have thought just getting apples and just crushing apples is cheaper than adding all this random shit into apples.
Oh yeah.
So how do they make it so, like, I know when you go to Wetherspoons, you don't have a choice, you just get these, as you say, your random chemical ciders. How do they make it so cheap that that's the drink that they can have?
Because they don't put 100% apple juice in. They only put 35% apple juice.
I see.
So they're instantly 66% or 65% in profit over what we're doing, which is 100% juice.
So I'm not asking you to say anything untoward here, but what you're saying is they use the apples that have got the dog shit on them. Right. So
dog shit apples.
Dog shit apples. I wonder what would happen if you did I wonder what would happen if you used like random rough horrible apples. Would you still make a reasonable drink, or as in, like, would it be more palatable than a Magners?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about high strength cider is that it basically, as the alcohol creeps up, it kills off natural pathogens, and so it is a really stable drink. So yeah, I wouldn't advise putting dog shit apples in, but if you did, then it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world.
So this is an important life lesson we've learned. See, who says you never learn anything from Mr. Badger's podcast? Don't drink dog shit.
Yeah. What was it Jeremy Clarkson said? There's no shit in this water, and then it turned out there was.
Well, so also don't drink Jeremy Clarkson's homemade cider. That's the other thing we've learned. Right,
actually, I think Hawkstone Cider that he does the Hawkstone Live, which he's put his name to, but he's thrust Hawkstone Cider onto Caleb, his little compatriot down there, and we've got it on good authority that it's a Henry Weston's made drink. That, you know, never an apple has crossed Jeremy Clarkson's threshold, I would have thought.
He might have a few inside him. I've heard he's a bit of a weird fucker. So we're coming up to the end of the podcast now. Have you got any little spicy tidbits you want to tell people about your time in the industry?
Spicy little tidbits, crikey! Wow, no, just watch this space. I guess we're going great guns. I keep saying we, but it's pretty much me now.
So it's just you and 1,600 fucking trees?
Yeah, no, there's a few people in the background that are working like true Trojans to make it all happen. But yeah, I'm the sort of, I don't want to say spearhead for it, but yeah, the man at the top of the tree at the moment, shaking it desperately to get apples.
You're the Steve Jobs of the Apple community. You're the only one you're creating.
The Steve Jobby.
Yeah. So it's been lovely nattering to you today.
It has, Terry.
I was gonna say, it's not Toby, is it? It's Timmy Tango,
Timmy Tango, yeah.
And it's from Masham Cider.
Correctamundo.
Well, I say it has been lovely having you on. To anybody out there, I hope you do sample it, or even if you're not going to sample that cider, I hope you do just start taking a bit more care of what goes in your body. Says the man who's had several BBC presenters inside his body over the past few years. No, it has been lovely speaking to you, Timmy. Would you be able to say goodbye to the boys and girls for me?
Bye-bye, boys and girls.
Goodbye, everybody.
So that's an end of another Mr. Badger podcast. Thank you all for listening. If you have enjoyed it, please do share it with your friends, and maybe give it a review or a like wherever you found it, whether that's on YouTube or one of the podcast services like Spotty Nose or Apple Podcast.
And this is Mr. Badger's brother, Lawrence. Yeah, that's Lawrence Badger. This is not Teddy, with a voice changer on. Just remember that my brother, Teddy, has a Discord room set up now. You can go into it. It's on your app, your Discord app. And it is called Mr. Badger's Room for Utter Scum.
That's Mr. Badger. The fucking voice. How much have I paid for this shit? Didn't even fucking cheap Chinese crap. It's Mr. Badger's Room for Utter Scum on Discord. And hopefully I'll see you there.